Kundikhanyela, It Denies Me, 2080 to 2681. Act 1. You will remember the exercise of the wind. The dissolution into nothingness is the dissolution into unity, for there is no nothingness. Ra, a humble messenger of the law of one, channeling through Carla in 1981. Abrogate, to abolish, do away with, or annul, especially by authority. During a thundersnow on December 95th, 2080, inside the cluttered kitchen of what was once an active bed and breakfast in Atlantic Canada, but now a place for a family's confinement, an unkempt, domesticated woolly mammoth elephant hybrid swats at fruit flies as two people begin to cordially play an old board game called Scrabble. B. Kunal, quickly, while holding a cigarette that, until submerged in liquid, endlessly burns and rejuvenates, uses all of his starting tiles to open on the star with the word tyranny. Abby, slowly and with the help of a blank tile, places the word ditties over it. Short, simple songs, she says cheerfully. Kunal acts fast. He forms the word abrogate. The game comes to a stop as Abby says, "Can we finish this in the future? My hands are cold." Kunal pauses and responds, "It's nothing, mistress. Just go lie down." Abby gives an understanding nod to him and gets up. Kunal has a satchel looped around his neck, resting on the side waist, a butt of a knife protruding out of the bag. Dolly gets up and comes over to Abby like a big loyal pet. Abby takes his support to find her balance, then gently pats his chest and heads out of the room. Dolly watches her, then turns to Kunal, who meets his gaze. They communicate without words. Abby is in her bedroom. She lays on a bed and looks at the ceiling. It is painted pink. Abby closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She soon dies peacefully in her sleep at the age of 79. She has a dream of sorts. She's standing at the bottom of a staircase made of bright light. On the glass-like walls, her entire life begins to flash like a movie starting at the beginning. She is of old age when she watches her birth, but as she advances up the staircase following her childhood on the walls, her body begins to decrease in age. She is middle-aged while her teenage years flash, and she becomes more and more youthful and is filled with the joy at the wonderful experience. She sees people she loved, people she didn't, the events, the memories. She is of a teenage body by the time she is watching her middle ages flash. Soon enough, her body becomes a toddler as she watches her older years, and by the time Kunal shows up this past October and takes control of her family, she is a crying infant and can no longer crawl up the stairs. Her tiny body is then engulfed in light. A powerful technological effect known as concern has created many disruptions to life through the past several decades, affecting humans with confusion and controlling the weather. Over the next 601 years and through many lives, Kunal, who inherited control of concern from his elite father Nikosi and the negatively oriented consciousness that controls the Cabal, concern will ultimately attempt to unleash its final effect and do what was originally thought impossible, and fully complete the dissolution of unity and consciousness to destroy timelessness, thus causing all of creation to be turned into nothingness. The one thing that does not exist and has not existed in any of the dimensions created by what many humans, including Abby, would refer to as God. The fearless Kunal does not want a meaning to life. He only wants nothingness. Through an intense ritual of channeling and dream stenography, he has discovered what happens when you die, particularly if you choose to commit suicide. First you go through a nightmare process, then a healing process, and finally a reincarnation process where you choose your own biological father and your own biological mother to set up the catalyst to the next life. Free will is an illusion that operates like clockwork with different probability and possibility vortexes. The third dimension is the only one with a veil of forgetfulness. Separation is also an illusion. And in further octaves of experience, one joins a group soul. Kunal has Abby's great-granddaughter, Violet, tied up in a room. She's selected to be his next biological mother, and sometime after his suicide will be inseminated with his seed so he can become the first and only one in history to choose himself to literally become his next biological father. Kunal unpacks a Ouija board from its box. He places it on the wooden kitchen table next to the Scrabble set. Dolly is acting strange and pacing around the house. Kunal calls the woolly mammoth over to him. Dolly, let's play, he says sternly. Dolly settles across from Kunal, the Ouija board placed between them. Kunal's left hand and Dolly's trunk gently touch the planchette. It is still at first, then slowly moves to hello. Kunal asks, is there a presence here? The planchette slowly moves to the spot marked yes. Kunal and Dolly exchange a quick curious glance. The planchette then moves around to spell out a message. It says, I am Abby, am new here, all is well. The game comes to an end as the planchette moves to the spot marked goodbye. Kunal closes his eyes for a moment. He gets up and smirks at Dolly. I am done babysitting. Playtime is over, he says. Dolly looks very concerned. Kunal goes to Abby's bedroom and opens the door. He checks her pulse. There is none. He laughs like a maniac. Kunal returns to the kitchen. He's holding a large knife. The satchel is open. Dolly looks at him with puppy eyes, his shadow falling on the wall behind. Kunal steps forward and his shadow engulfs Dolly's shadow. Dolly is lying sideways on the multicolored checkered floor with its trunk straightened out. Kunal's hand places the knife on the trunk skin, then thrusts with force. Blood oozes out as Kunal slowly and meticulously carves out a chunk of meat from the trunk. Later, the trunk meat is being cooked in a frying pan on the stove while Dolly is lying in a pool of blood. His body shuddered as if going through bouts of shock. Kunal submerges his infinite cigarette into a thick pool of blood until it goes out. Kunal then pokes with a finger to check if the meat is cooked enough. Violet, a young woman cooped up in one corner of a shabby living room, a shackle around her right foot, keeps her chained to the wall. Kunal enters the room holding a plate of food, his last meal. Violet looks up at him anxiously. It has happened, he said, amused. Violet's eyes ooze out her pain. Kunal settles in front of her and keeps the meal between them. Both dig into the meat and chew. Their eyes meet. Kunal gumps the morsel in his mouth. I will come to you, he says. Kunal gets up and leaves as Violet watches. Kunal enters a makeshift communication room. He sends a pager message to a contact named Maldik. The Cabal now works closely with the species many humans, including Abby, would call Bigfoot. Their home planet Maldik got destroyed by nuclear warfare, and the entities got caught in a knot affair. After a healing process, they reincarnated to planet Earth as Bigfoot and dwelled for many years in underground passageways, working on karmic restitutions. Kunal's message simply stated, come get Violet now. Bigfoot planned to take her to their underground passageways and inseminate her with Kunal's seed and raise the boy Kunal becomes until he reaches the age of 6 and inherits control of Concern once again to help program it with codes given to him by deities he encounters while taking a seed called Datura, which causes hallucinations. Kunal returns to the kitchen. He fishes out his knife from the satchel and heads over to Dolly. He gorges out the eyes first and puts them gently on the floor. Dolly's shuddering body gradually comes to rest. Kunal then carves out the ears and places them beside the eyes. Then he amputates the nose and arranges them with the eyes and ears. Then he carves out the tongue and puts it beside the chopped trunk. Finally, he digs out the heart of Dolly. The room floor is now covered in blood.